In the town of Dingling District, there was a martial arts academy called Shenglong. A boy emerged from the academy, sweat dripping down his face, a bucket strapped to his back. He paused by the academy wall, scanning his surroundings, then swiftly scaled the wall and leaped over it. Landing on the other side, he breathed a sigh of relief, feeling a bit nervous but also relieved. Thinking he had escaped safely, the boy relaxed, but his peace was short-lived as a girl suddenly appeared. She laughed at him and declared triumphantly that she had finally found him. The boy was stunned by her presence. The girl, Jinling Yue, revealed herself to be the niece of the chairman of the Long Martial Arts Academy. At just 15 years old, she was already a talented martial artist at the 6th stage. Sweat beading on his forehead, the boy nervously inquired about the reason for her anger. She accused him of repeatedly sneaking out, breaking the academy rules. As the representative of the academy chairman, she decided to teach him a lesson. The boy, noticing that Yue had also left the academy, pointed it out. But Yue warned him not to try to escape, reminding him of their vast difference in martial arts skills. He was only at the 3rd stage while she had reached the 6th. She assured him that he had no chance against her. The boy admired her skill, acknowledging that there might not be anyone her age in the academy or even in Wushan who could match her. Yue retrieved her hitting rope and remarked that it was good that he understood the situation so clearly. She confidently asserted that even if 5 people like him teamed up, they still wouldn't stand a chance against her. The boy suggested they settle the matter that way, but he also suggested they avoid interfering with each other. He insisted he needed to leave for a while and commanded her not to stop him. This angered Yue greatly. She questioned how he dared to speak to her in such a manner. She warned him that no one could rescue him now. Yue attempted to strike the boy with her rope, but he quickly dodged, narrowly avoiding the blow. In his mind, the boy recalled his mother's advice about women being like snakes, bringing trouble and disaster. He resolved to keep his distance from them as much as possible. He considered how those at the 6th stage of martial arts, once mastering their movement skills, could move much faster than ordinary people. Swiftly distancing himself from the girl, he declared to Yue that while many might fear her, he wasn't one of them. He asserted that their confrontation was none of her concern, and warned her that if she continued to pursue him, she shouldn't blame him for any consequences. Yue chuckled at his words, mocking him for daring to speak so boldly as a 3rd stage martial arts practitioner. Yue advanced towards him, expressing her curiosity to see what he was capable of. The boy remarked on her meanness. As she approached, he sidestepped her. She challenged him to try and escape her grasp. When Yue attempted to grab his face, the boy swiftly seized her arm instead, applying pressure with his hand. He warned her that if she continued to act recklessly, he wouldn't hesitate to respond harshly. With a firm grip on her arm, Yue began to sweat and feel intense pain. She pleaded with him to release her. With the rope still in her hand, Yue stood before him, contemplating that only those at the 7th stage of cultivation could utilize spiritual energy to activate weapon martial arts techniques. She estimated that less than 20 out of the 100 people in the academy possessed this ability. Convinced that the boy wasn't foolish.
Do you want to know the name of this manga, along with all the manga names of the recaps we did in our channel? How about also the chapter numbers our recaps end? You can simply ask the names in our Discord community for free or become a donor to get them all in one place. You can either be a donor in Patreon or be a member in our YouTube channel. Just scan this QR code or go to the link in the description to become a donor. Moreover, becoming a donor automatically makes you a VIP member of our Discord server with over tens of thousands of members.
She believed that if he dared to resist now, he would surely lose. Sensing the situation, the boy eventually released her hand. He warned her one final time not to provoke him. Stepping back, he attempted to disengage. However, Yue refused to back down, questioning his identity and intentions, further fueling his anger. When Yue once again brandished her rope and attempted to strike him, the boy swiftly drew his sword, slicing through the rope with a decisive stroke. Shocked, Yue stared at him as he swiftly cut through her weapon. Tears welled up in her eyes. The boy reassured her that if he had intended to kill her, she would have been dead already. He warned her not to let it happen again or he wouldn't show mercy next time. Standing in a somber mood, Yue felt a deep sense of fear towards the boy. She cried, asking how he could be so strong. She accused him of concealing his true strength. The boy admitted that he wasn't just a 3rd stage martial artist. Yue speculated that he must be at least at the 8th stage. However, she quickly realized that at the age of 15, it was unlikely for him to have reached such a high level. Feeling a sense of unease, she expressed shock that he had descended upon her, and even dared to frighten her. Stunned by the encounter, Yue watched as the boy departed. She sank onto the grass, tears streaming down her face. She threatened to inform her uncle and have him exposed, reducing him to the status of a homeless dog. Meanwhile, the boy arrived at the mystical beast forest, its depths stretching far and wide. He ventured into the forest, gazing at the towering trees. Suddenly, he began to run swiftly along the branches, traversing the forest with agility. Eventually, he leaped down to the forest floor. Among the trees, he spotted a large rock and fixed his gaze upon it. Approaching the large rock, the boy reached out and made contact with it. To his surprise, the rock shifted aside, revealing a hidden cave entrance. Without hesitation, he leaped into the cave just as the stone door closed behind him. Inside the cave lay an old castle, which served as their home. The boy gazed at the castle, a familiar sight. It had been their refuge for 6 years, a place to hide from their enemies. Inside, his mother awaited. Calling out to her, he informed her of his return. He noticed his mother's aging appearance and recalled her affectionate nickname for him, Little Zheng. His own name was Mo Zheng. He resolved to become strong enough to protect his family from their enemies, ultimately allowing them to leave their hiding place. Jumping down from the stone, he approached his mother. Seeing him, she drew near, and he leaped closer to her. Informing her that he had purchased medicine for his father, Zheng declared his intention to remain at home for the next 2 months to focus on his martial arts training instead of returning to the academy. Zheng reached into his bucket and retrieved some grass, showing it to his mother. He explained that in 2 months, the 4 great martial arts clans would be recruiting, and he needed to pass the test. Taking the grass from his hand, his mother placed her other hand on his head. She assured him that with his current strength, passing the examination should be easy. However, she advised him to continue practicing diligently, emphasizing that the clan selection process was different from martial arts training. She reminded him that there would be numerous talented individuals vying for a spot, so he needed to give it his all. Zheng recalled his family's former status as tycoons in Dingling district. At the age of 10, a group of assailants had wiped out his relatives, sparing only his parents. Despite his inquiries, his mother had refused to divulge the identity of their enemies, only mentioning a name, Mu Wu Shui. Now, as an 8th-ranked martial artist, he believed himself to be unrivaled in the academy. Among practitioners under the age of 18, no one could match his skill. Zheng reflected on Yue, considering her a rare prodigy of Dingling district. Despite her young age, she had already attained the brass level. Zheng acknowledged her talent, but resolved to surpass her once he reached the silver level. With determination, he withdrew his sword from his back, positioning it in front of him, determined to defeat her. Zheng strolled through the world known as the Blood Sword world. Nearby lay a blood lake, its surface dotted with human skulls. Gripping the blood sword tightly, Zheng reminisced about discovering it in a small stream within the ancient castle ruins. He noted that time moves differently in this realm, with 3 days passing inside equating to 6 hours outside. Zheng reflected on the freedom he enjoyed in the world of Bloodsword, where he could undertake any action without fear of losing his life force. Thanks to the existence of this world, Zheng gained the confidence to challenge Mu Wuxue. 3 days later, he sat contemplating his increased strength after intensive cultivation. Reflecting on the benefits of the blood sword world for cultivation, he noted that entry required the blood of magical beasts. Zheng bid farewell to his mother and ventured outside. Hopping from stone to stone, he declared it was time for a stroll. Returning to the magical beast forest, he encountered a formidable creature. Zheng unsheathed his sword and delivered a powerful blow to the magical beast, ultimately defeating it. After the battle, he made an incision on the beast's body and retrieved its core. Considering that the core of a 9th level magical beast could fetch 500 silver ounces, Zheng calculated it would provide enough for his family to live for half a month. As he completed his task, he heard a strange sound, a cry for help. Zheng turned back and began following the voice, leaping from tree to tree. Zheng arrived at the location where someone had called for help. Perched in a tree, he surveyed the scene below. A girl stood there, bleeding slightly, facing a wolf with fear evident on her face. Though she gripped a sword, she seemed overwhelmed. Zheng recognized her as Qi Shuafu, the talented sister from Shenglong Martial Arts Academy, likely to be chosen by the 4 great clans. Qi also noticed someone in the tree. She began calling out for help, but upon seeing someone in a blue shirt, she dismissed him as a low-ranking disciple. Angered, Qi questioned how he could possibly save her. Meanwhile, Zheng observed her from his vantage point. Qi urged him to flee, insisting that she couldn't save herself and he couldn't save her either. Assessing the situation, Qi realized she needed to divert the wolf's attention. Determined to save him, she leaped forward with her sword. As Qi attempted to leap onto the wolf, Zheng was shocked by her actions. He couldn't understand why she was risking her life like this. Knowing that she would likely be killed by the wolf, Zheng swiftly jumped in and attacked the beast with his sword. Qi watched in astonishment as he intervened. She asked him if he truly was a disciple from Shenglong Martial Arts Academy. Sitting beside the defeated wolf, Zheng extracted some core from it. He addressed Qi as a sister and advised her to find something to cover herself. Due to the torn clothes and wounds from the beast's attack, Qi's body was exposed. Concerned, Zheng advised her to cover up, lest he feel emotionally compelled to help her further. Qi responded by reminding him that he was just a young boy. She attempted to shield herself with her arms, and remarked on the difficulty of finding anything to cover up in their current surroundings. Deciding it would be best to find something once they were out of danger, Qi asked Zheng if he recognized her and confirmed if he truly was a disciple of Shenglong Martial Arts Academy. Qi complimented Zheng, acknowledging his strength. Zheng responded, affirming that he recognized her. He described her as Miss Shenglong Martial Arts Academy, a notable figure in the Wushan district. However, he pointed out that she didn't know him. Zheng admitted that while he was indeed stronger than her, he considered himself inferior compared to martial arts masters who had developed magical roots. As night fell, Zheng reflected on being the second strongest disciple of Shenglong Martial Arts Academy, a fact he begrudgingly accepted. In the forest, Qi suggested to Zheng that they should set up camp for the night since it was dark. She proposed that they leave the forest together the next day. Zheng glanced at her as she spoke. Qi reassured him that they were together and she could protect him. However, Zheng replied that he had no intention of leaving first and didn't need her protection. Zheng suggested they gather some dry wood to grill the defeated wolf. He remarked that he believed it was Qi who needed protection. Qi, covering herself with her arms, glanced at Zheng. He announced his plan to fetch medicinal plants and instructed her to be cautious around the magical beast. Qi felt a twinge of anger, realizing it was the first time she had been looked down upon in her 20 years of life. Zheng departed to gather medicinal herbs while Qi began collecting dry wood to grill the wolf. She moved from spot to spot, picking up dry branches. Reflecting on her situation, Qi realized that her initial desire for real battle practice had led her to this predicament. She noted the abundance of level 8 or higher magical beasts in the area and felt uncertain about her chances of safely escaping. Thinking about Zheng, she found him annoying but strangely comforting. Meanwhile, Zheng continued his search, deciding it was time to return. Zheng returned to find Qi sitting by the fire, grilling some meat. She glanced up at him and wondered why he had taken so long. Zheng was surprised at how quickly Qi had started cooking. Qi noticed him staring and reminded him that the meat was in danger of burning. Suddenly, Zheng began coughing and produced an antidote, urging Qi to take it. Confused, Qi asked why she needed the antidote. She reached out to take the antidote from Zheng's hand, but as she did, she suddenly screamed in pain. Pimples erupted all over her body, shocking Qi. Terrified, she demanded to know what was happening and why it happened to her. Zheng acted quickly, forcefully feeding her the antidote and telling her to be quiet. Qi collapsed to the ground, with Zheng falling on top of her. Nervously, Qi looked at him as he warned her about attracting magical beasts with her screams. Qi was surprised to find Zheng in such a position. Zheng instructed her to refrain from screaming like that and explained that she had been poisoned by the wolf. He assured her that although the poison caused the pimples, it wasn't life-threatening, and he would be fine after taking the antidote. Qi nodded in understanding and agreed with him. She mentioned that she still didn't know his name. Zheng then revealed that his name was Zheng. After some time, they both sat by the fire near the grilled wolf. Qi noticed that the pimples on her arm were slowly disappearing. She remarked how scary the experience had been. Meanwhile, Zheng was enjoying the grilled meat. He questioned Qi if she was truly the genius sister he knew, and whether the academy had failed to teach her such basic things. Qi grabbed a piece of meat from the grill and admitted that it was her first time, so she had gotten nervous. Taking a bite, she reassured Zheng that it wouldn't happen again. Suddenly, Qi sensed something approaching and stood up from the wood, feeling scared. She exclaimed loudly that a monster had arrived. Zheng remained relaxed, not moving an inch as he continued eating the meat. He advised her to stop shouting and calmly sat down. Zheng assured Qi that it was just a firefighter, a level 7 magical beast, and the weakest type in the area. He remarked that if the beast dared to come closer, they would have more food. Qi was astonished to see the beast, but pretended that she already knew about it, saying so with fake confidence. The beast stood before her, and Qi turned to face it. Determined, she declared that she would defeat it so it wouldn't look down on her anymore. Zheng glanced back at her as she started fighting the beast. 10 minutes later, Qi emerged victorious, holding the beast by its tail. She remarked that even the fire functor was strong, requiring effort to defeat. Looking back at Zheng and the defeated creature, she asserted that her reputation wasn't to be taken lightly. Until she was chosen by a great clan, she vowed to look after him. When Zheng looked at her, he suddenly burst into laughter. He joked that her hair must have turned blonde while fighting the fire functor and called her a naive girl. Confused, Qi demanded to know what he meant by that. Zheng then asked if she had heard of terms like copperhead, iron tail, or tofu waste. Qi replied defiantly, asking what if she had or hadn't heard of them. Without hesitation, Zheng countered the fire functor with a water power attack, explaining that it was common sense to use water against a fire beast. He questioned whether she still believed she wasn't naive. Feeling hurt, Qi thought he dared to speak to her like that, and asserted her seniority, vowing not to forget his words. Qi sat back down on the wood, placing her sword nearby, and cautioned Zheng not to be overly confident. She explained that her extensive practice at the martial arts academy meant her actual combat experience surpassed his, but she vowed to change that. Qi informed Zheng that she had made a decision. She would stay there to practice the next day. Zheng glanced at her as she spoke. Qi warned him that if he refused, she would consider him rude. She reminded him that even though he had called her naive, she wouldn't forget it. Zheng rose from the ground and told her he didn't have time to worry about her. He explained that he saved her because during that dangerous moment, she had chosen to save him, and she seemed to be a kind person. Zheng expressed concern that if she followed him, she would only be a burden. Qi, upon hearing this, felt angered by his words. She questioned whether she was truly a burden to him and declared her determination to stick by his side. She challenged him, asking what he could possibly do to her. Qi recalled the encounter with the wolf when Zheng defeated it, realizing that Zheng had used fire power to kill it. Observing Zheng's use of water power against the firefighter, she speculated that he might be a dual-element cultivator. Meanwhile, Zheng pondered that among the youth of Wushan district, he was one of the few three-element cultivators. He considered that the number of young people who were dual-element cultivators was likely no more than 10. He remarked that all of them were quite famous, but there was absolutely no one named Zheng among them. Qi then looked at him and commented that he turned out to be a little genius after all. She suggested that he always sneered at her because he envied her. Referring to him as a three-element cultivator, Qi generated some fire on her finger. Zheng looked at her when she called him a three-element cultivator. Quickly, Zheng jumped onto a tree. Sitting there, he reflected that talented individuals were often resented, and being a three-element cultivator could be considered a mark of genius. He acknowledged that if others knew his secret, he might encounter some trouble. Zheng thought that being a six-element cultivator was considered exceptionally remarkable, so he decided to pretend to be a dual-element cultivator. In the cultivation system of the magical continent, martial arts masters held the highest authority. If someone hadn't reached the level of martial arts master, it was as if they hadn't truly entered the world. Among martial arts masters, there were various levels, with the weakest being the brass martial arts master. Jin Yang, the chairman of Shenglong Martial Arts Academy, was a brass martial arts master. The elders, who were the true leaders of the Dingling district, were all golden martial arts masters. After reaching level 10 in martial arts, they developed what was called a magical root. Zheng believed that the magical root was formed from elements like metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, electricity, light, and darkness. He explained that the more elemental power one absorbed, the stronger the magical root became. Conversely, if one only absorbed power from one element, the magical root would be weak and easily broken. The next morning, as the sun rose, Zheng found himself on a tree branch. The sun's rays gently awakened him, and he stirred. Below the tree, Qi was engrossed in practicing with her sword. Zheng observed her for a moment before leaping down from the tree. He informed her that he needed to venture deep into the forest and warned her not to follow, emphasizing the danger. Qi asserted her seniority, revealing herself as a level 9 martial arts genius and a three-element cultivator. She commanded him not to underestimate her. Zheng once again called her a naive girl and cautioned her against overestimating herself. Then he leaped onto a tree and began moving deeper into the forest, advising her to take care of herself. Running along the branches, Zheng focused on his path. Meanwhile, Qi, angered by his words, vowed to catch up with him, referring to him as a stupid brother. She leaped up from the ground, determinedly. Zheng realized that there were 2 Earth Bear level 8 magical beasts in the vicinity. He surmised that Qi must have alerted them with her martial arts practice. While he believed Qi could handle them, he acknowledged it would be a tough fight. Qi began battling one of the bears. Zheng halted on a branch of a tree, contemplating how Qi might realize the forest's danger and give up. He worried about her lack of real combat experience, fearing that if she couldn't react swiftly in a fight, the Earth Bear could easily kill her. Zheng debated whether he should return to help her or not. Suddenly, he recalled his mother's warning about the trouble women could bring. Meanwhile, Qi battled with a bear using her sword. As the bear attempted to strike her with its paw, Qi defended herself skillfully. However, in a moment of misjudgment, she accidentally lodged her sword into a nearby tree instead of striking the bear. From his perch on the tree branch, Zheng watched in astonishment, wondering how this naive girl managed such a feat. After unsuccessfully trying to pull her sword from the tree, Qi struggled with frustration. Jung grew increasingly concerned, doubting she could retrieve it. He considered letting her face the consequences and fight the bear to teach her a lesson. However, Chi refused to give up in the face of the bear. Determined, she realized she needed to tap into the power of the earth. Chi summoned her magic, but before she could react, the bear struck her, sending her flying into a nearby stone. Pain shot through her body as she collided with the hard surface. The bear roared menacingly, drawing closer to her. Despite the danger, Chi knew she needed to remain calm and not let fear overtake her. Chi searched for a solution, blood staining her mouth and body. Realizing she needed to activate her power again, she summoned fire into her hand. Knowing she couldn't defeat the bear directly, she swiftly maneuvered around it. As the bear attempted to attack, Chi dodged to its left side and delivered a powerful punch to its face. When Chi's punch landed on the bear's face, the fire burned its face, causing it to recoil in pain. With this, Chi defeated the bear, which sat down under the tree, visibly suffering. Feeling relieved, Chi remarked on the vast difference between practicing at a martial arts academy and facing real combat. She pondered the thickness of the bear's skin, realizing she couldn't pierce it. As she contemplated this, the bear fled from the scene. Chi proudly declared that the bear ran away. Feeling a sense of accomplishment, she reflected on her victory. Chi called out to the bear, declaring that it couldn't escape and that she would defeat it thoroughly. Meanwhile, from behind the tree, Jung observed Chi's actions and accomplishments. He realized he had underestimated her. Jung contemplated that if they continued forward, they would encounter fewer magical beasts as weak as the one they just faced. He even considered the possibility of encountering super magical beasts in the future. Jung considered Chi and realized she truly wasn't afraid of death. As he pondered her bravery, a sense of unease washed over him. Suddenly, he sensed something amiss nearby. Jang felt the presence of an enemy approaching, just 10 meters away. Shocked by this realization, he wondered how the enemy had managed to get so close without detection. Jang worried that if he were to be ambushed, he might not be able to evade the attack. Determined to gain the advantage, he resolved to take action. Suddenly, a beast appeared, catching Jang off guard. Reacting quickly, he drew his sword and delivered a swift strike, drawing blood from the beast. As he observed the blood on his sword, Jung pondered the type of beast he had wounded and felt nervous. Despite his unease, Jung remained unable to detect the presence of the beast. Just then, Chi arrived on the scene and called out to Jang. She assured him that she knew he wouldn't abandon her, and asked if he had been following her. Chi expressed her belief that he was only pretending to be indifferent, and was actually worried about her. Meanwhile, Jang struggled with the realization that he couldn't sense the beast. He couldn't comprehend how this was possible. Chi continued, affirming that she understood Jung's concern for her, which was why he had followed her. However, Jung's frustration grew, and he snapped at her to be quiet and let him handle the situation. Chi noticed the blood on Jung's sword and was taken aback. She inquired if there was a magical beast nearby and if that was the reason he had emerged. Jung considered that the beast was no longer present and pondered where it might have fled. Closing his eyes, he attempted to sense its presence but found nothing. It seemed to have vanished in an instant. Despite this, he remained convinced that the enemy was still nearby. Suddenly, Chi spotted a fox sitting nearby. She marveled at the sight of the beautiful little fox and noticed its injured feet. Chi suggested they should help the fox. Upon seeing the fox, Jang was surprised. He instructed Chi to step back and withdraw her affection. He questioned if she knew what it was. Pointing his sword at the fox, Jung attempted to strike, but Chi intervened, grabbing his hand to stop him. She reassured him that it was just a harmless small fox and suggested that Jung's actions were driven by nervousness. Chi observed that the fox showed no signs of life force and concluded that it wasn't a magical beast. In response, Jung grew angry, agreeing with her assessment and declaring that it was no longer a magical beast. Suddenly, he exclaimed loudly that it was a super magical beast. Jang criticized Chi, calling her a fool, which frightened her. Chi asked if they were going to die. In a stern tone, Jang questioned if she was scared now, reminding her that he had already warned her not to follow him. Chi, sweating nervously, questioned why Jung wasn't afraid and accused him of threatening her. She insisted that the creature didn't seem like a super magical beast. Jung denied threatening her and affirmed that it was indeed a super magical beast. He explained that it was a descendant of an ancient nine-tailed fox known as the fantasy fragrant fox. Jang explained to her that when the fox remained still, its tail emitted a peculiar scent. This scent had the ability to attract other magical beasts, even those of high rank couldn't resist it. As the fragrant fox began to move, Jang pointed it out to Chi, noting that despite its injuries, it continued to wander. Chi felt sympathy for the fox, describing it as pitiful. She expressed concern that its wounds wouldn't heal if it continued to move around like that. Chi agreed with Jang, acknowledging that the fragrant fox was indeed following them. Zhang reassured her that as long as they kept moving, the fox couldn't pose a threat. He advised her to hope that they wouldn't encounter any other magical beasts. Suddenly, Zhang spotted a pack of wolves approaching. He lamented their bad luck, sweating at the sight of them. Zhang expressed his concern that if they harmed the fox in its weakened state, he wouldn't be able to forgive himself. Zhang departed from the area, stating that they needed to continue moving and leave the forest as quickly as possible. He instructed Qi not to pause, not even when eating. Together, Zhang and Qi began to make their way out of the forest. Curious, Qi inquired if the fantasy-fragrant fox was truly dangerous. Zhang explained that its power was equivalent to that of a level 10 magical beast, but it possessed an extraordinary ability known as teleportation. Qi was astonished to learn about teleportation. Suddenly, packs of wolves arrived, encircling Zhang and Qi. Zhang assessed the situation, realizing they were surrounded by a pack of 7 level 9 magical wolves. Even a 10-the-stage martial artist wouldn't dare to recklessly attack them. Concerned, Zhang looked at the wolves. Qi also unsheathed her sword in response. Zhang pondered that if he were alone, he could probably escape, but dealing with 7 magical beasts alone would be extremely challenging. He urged Qi to take care of herself and promised to do his best to handle as many magical beasts as he could. Zhang assured them that he would give his all, and they simply had to trust in their survival. Suddenly, a wolf pounced towards them. Qi resigned herself to the possibility of death at that moment. She acknowledged that their only hope rested with Zhang. Addressing him as a brother, she urged him to focus on the task at hand, noting that even if they managed to defeat the current wolves, more would surely follow. Qi didn't want to be a burden to Zhang. She believed that it would be better for at least one of them to escape, rather than everyone perishing there. She vowed to do her utmost to hold off the wolves so that Zhang could flee. Zhang glanced at her, moved by her determination. Zhang recalled his mother's words about 6 years ago. She had told him that the more beautiful a woman appeared, the more likely she was to have a cruel heart. Zhang remembered a tragic event from his past when he and his parents were caught in a fire. His mother and father sustained injuries, and amidst the chaos, his mother informed him that his father was gravely wounded and that their enemies were still in pursuit. She added that she would stall their enemies momentarily, instructing him to take his father and flee. Suddenly, one of the wolves attempted to attack Zhang with its wind strike skill. Qi intervened, stepping into the path of the attack and absorbing the blow meant for Zhang. As Zhang glanced at her, he saw her lying on the ground, severely injured from the wolf's attack. After seeing Qi injured, Zhang's anger flared and he drew his sword. With determination, he leaped towards the wolf that had attacked her. Zhang was prepared to leave the wolf in two with all his strength. With a forceful strike, he succeeded in cutting the wolf into 2 pieces. Turning to Qi, Zhang reassured her, telling her not to worry. He declared that he wouldn't leave her behind and vowed to ensure they both made it out safely. Zhang affirmed that he wouldn't let her perish there. Qi watched in surprise as Zhang's anger flared. He commanded the wolves to come and attack him if they dared to harm Qi. Instructing Qi to remain where she was and refrain from intervening, Zhang asserted that he would handle the remaining wolves and eliminate them all. The wolves, equally enraged, prepared to launch an attack on Zhang. Qi called out to Zhang, labeling him as foolish. She questioned Zhang, asking him what he was thinking, and if he no longer desired to live. As the wolves prepared their wind strike attack, Qi recognized it as the special skill of the deep forest's magical wolves. She knew she couldn't endure such an attack for long, feeling the pain from her injured arm. Qi instructed Zhang to flee from the scene immediately. She admitted that she couldn't hold off the wolves any longer. Zhang positioned himself in the center of the wolves, prepared to engage them in battle. As the wolves approached him, Zhang swung his sword in an attempt to strike them. Suddenly, one of the wolves leaped at him unexpectedly. Zhang, sweating with nervousness, looked at it. He quickly seized the arm of the wolf that had pounced on him and hurled it towards another wolf. The 2 wolves collided with each other and staggered backward. Meanwhile, 3 wolves circled in the air above Zhang's head, preparing to unleash their magic powers to attack him. Seeing their menacing stance, Zhang felt a surge of nervousness. Acting swiftly, Zhang plunged his sword into the ground with his strength. The blood sword unleashed its magic, channeling all its power into the ground. Suddenly, the ground erupted with lightning. After channeling the power from the ground, Zhang launched the attack towards the wolves. When the power struck the wolves, they lost their strength and stumbled backward. Zhang, feeling nervous, observed as the wolves became even more powerful and enraged. Recognizing the increasing danger, Zhang urged Qi to flee from the scene first. He explained that the wolves were becoming uncontrollable, as they were now immune to pain and fear. However, Qi refused to leave alone, insisting that she would stay by his side. She insisted that they needed to leave together. Zhang dismissed her, calling her naive. He warned her that if they didn't leave now, she would never escape this place. Undeterred, Qi rose from the ground, affirming that she didn't care. She reiterated that she wouldn't leave him behind and insisted they depart together. In truth, both Chi and Jung were concerned for each other. Jung then turned back to the wolves, asserting that they wouldn't succeed in killing him so easily. Jang unleashed his true power with the blood sword. As the wolves attempted to attack him once more and advanced towards him, Jung launched his attack at them with his sword. He stood his ground, releasing his power attack on the wolves. Witnessing the potency of his attack, the wolves became frightened and fled from the scene. Chi was astonished by Jang's abilities. She remarked that he must be a six-element cultivator and that only martial arts masters could wield a sword to unleash such power. Jang advised her not to make such foolish assumptions. He warned Chi that if she didn't run quickly, they would all perish there. Jing then lifted Chi onto his back and began running through the trees, attempting to flee from the pursuing beasts. All the animals chased after them. Jung realized that given the circumstances, they wouldn't be able to escape the forest. Their only option was to head toward the ancient castle ruins. However, that was his final secret. Jung didn't want to reveal his secrets to Chi. He decided to put it out of his mind. Jung ran through the trees with Chi on his back. Chi warned him that the beasts were closing in on them. She insisted that if he continued carrying her, they would both perish. Chi ordered him to quickly set her down and flee because she didn't want to be a burden to him. Suddenly, a marginal deer beast approached them and attempted to attack. Jang swiftly struck the deer, causing it to fall against a tree. Chi loudly questioned why he wasn't listening to her. Jang commanded her to stop dreaming. He knew what he needed to do now as they continued running through the forest. Carrying Chi on his back was exhausting him, but he couldn't stop just yet because they were almost there. Despite Chi's repeated pleas to let her go and save himself, Jang refused to abandon her. Tears welled up in Chi's eyes as she begged him. Jang told her to stop talking. He couldn't bear to leave her alone to perish here. Eventually, Jang and Chi landed on the ground after some time. Jang was sweating profusely. He sat Chi down on a stone and instructed her to stay put, not to wander off. Chi felt a sense of relief being with Jang. She urged him to listen carefully to her. Reflecting on all that he had done for her, Chi promised that if she survived, she would allow him to do whatever he wished. Jang sternly told her to be quiet. Chi questioned if they were going to die anyway, why he wouldn't let her speak, suggesting that otherwise he could become her cultivation partner. She mentioned that despite reaching this dead end, she at least wanted a friend with her. Jung advanced toward the water and the stone wall. He approached the wall and removed some stones from it, revealing a hidden door. Carrying Chi on his shoulders, Jung entered through the door. He reassured her, reminding her that he had said she wouldn't die. Chi responded that she was just joking. Observing their surroundings, Chi remarked that it was a secret cave, and inquired how Jung knew about it and where it was located. Jing carried Chi in his arms and leaped from the stone to his home side. He informed her that they had arrived at his home, expressing his hope that she could keep it a secret. Chi assured him that he didn't need to worry, promising not to forget what he had done for her. She added that she wouldn't disclose it even if it meant risking her life. As they stood there, Jung's mother suddenly appeared. Upon seeing them, she became worried about Jung and hurried over to them. She inquired about the situation, prompting Jing to explain that Chi was his senior named Chi Shui Fu. He recounted their encounter with a fantasy fragrant fox and being chased by a pack of aggressive magical beasts, leaving him with no choice but to bring her here. Jung reassured his mother that Chi would keep it a secret, so there was no need to worry. His mother expressed relief that he was all right, emphasizing her concern for his well-being. She insisted on taking care of Chi and instructed Jung to go take a shower. Then she took Chi from Jung's arms. After a while, Jung and his mother sat on the bed, discussing various matters. Jung shared all the details with his mother. She gently placed her hand on his head and reassured him that she wasn't blaming him, expressing her trust in his judgment. If he believed Chi and saw her as a kind, honest girl, then she would too. His mother promised to keep their secret safe. In fact, she supported his decision. She reminded him that her previous teachings might not always be entirely correct and encouraged him to develop his own judgment. Jang got up from the bed and mentioned that he was heading to practice. His mom urged him to go ahead. 2 days later, Jang was outside when Chi arrived. She had just woken up, having changed into a dress provided by Jang's mother. Jang inquired if her wounds had healed. Chi confirmed that they had, expressing her gratitude to his mom for looking after her. She then asked about the fantasy fragrant fox. Jang informed her that they hadn't left yet. On the contrary, he sensed the presence of many high-ranking magical beasts. Chi felt disheartened upon hearing Jang's words. She expressed her belief that she wouldn't be able to leave the place for the time being, and practicing there seemed ineffective. A month later, 4 great clans were recruiting, and she was anxious about it. Jang reassured her, telling her not to worry. He mentioned that he had asked his mother to capture some ranked-level beasts for them to practice real combat. Additionally, they could train in the safety of the ancient castle. However, Qi raised concerns about the hundreds of magical beasts outside, deeming it too dangerous. Just as Zheng was about to mention something about his mother's strength to Qi, his mother arrived and swiftly changed the topic. She held some toys in her hand and asked them what they were doing at her doorstep. Handing the toys to them for practice, she diverted the conversation. Zheng had intended to tell Qi that his mother was a silver martial arts master. This revelation contrasted with the fact that the Shenglong Master Chairman was only a brass martial arts master. Within 1 month, Zheng had to increase his power as swiftly as possible. Qi also needed to enhance her real combat experience. Zheng thought about the upcoming recruitment by the 4 great clans in a month's time, wondering what would unfold. Halfway through the month at the ruined castle in the Bloody World, Qi practiced with the beast toys provided by Zheng's mom. As Qi practiced, Zheng and his mom observed her movements attentively. During these 2 weeks, they had both reached level 9 in martial arts. Qi progressed rapidly, even mastering an exceptionally strong sword skill. Zheng realized that if she were to use it, even he wouldn't dare to face her directly. He, however, hadn't practiced any martial arts skills yet. Zheng's mom looked at him and gestured for him to follow her. He inquired about the reason, and his mother explained that as a level 9 martial arts practitioner, it was time for him to learn a martial arts skill. Zheng felt relieved knowing that there was finally a martial arts skill to cultivate. He followed his mother to a room where she explained their family's history as a big clan in Dingling district. She mentioned that they possessed some martial arts skills passed down through generations, but their uniqueness made them easily detectable by enemies. However, she assured Zheng not to worry, as she had a sword skill book that would suit him well. She then presented a book covered in red cloth. She explained that the book was called 9-Star Sword Skills, created by a high-ranking martial arts master. Although very challenging, Zheng's father and uncles had attempted it unsuccessfully. Despite not fully understanding its nature as a martial arts skill, according to his father, it surpassed any other family martial arts techniques. She entrusted the book to Zheng, expressing her belief in his ability to succeed. His mother instructed him to begin practicing immediately. Zheng expressed gratitude to his mother and stated that he would begin practicing right away. Exiting his mother's room, he found Qi finishing her practice outside. As Zheng approached her, Qi mentioned that all the magical beasts had been defeated, finding the situation dull. She proposed a competition with Zheng, suggesting they test each other's strength. Sitting atop one of the beast toys, she inserted her sword into it, declaring her intention to demonstrate her strength to her brother that day. Afterward, Zheng apologized to Qi for their earlier quarrel and explained that he needed to focus on his practice. Qi reassured him that she didn't mind. Zheng then departed from the area. Pulling his sword from his back, he activated the blood sword. He contemplated the first technique of the skill, known as the Sword from the East, which synergized well with the element of electricity. Zheng resolved to seek out the area with the highest concentration of electricity in the world. Finding a quiet spot, he sat down and delved into the 9-Star Sword Skills book. He considered that out of the 9 elements, he hadn't yet mastered 3, electricity, light, and darkness. This presented a good opportunity to develop his proficiency in electricity. Zheng commenced his practice. He recalled that the initial skill required the martial artist to synchronize with the sword. With a burst of power, the thunder sword surged forward 15 meters. He knew that a typical level 9 martial artist would exhaust their energy after 3 attempts, and even a martial arts master could practice only a handful of times before fatigue set in. Understanding such an incredible sword skill in just 10 attempts seemed impossible, but within the blood sword world, there was no need to worry about energy depletion. Zheng accelerated his practice. He executed the sword technique from the east a staggering 12,068 times. Despite feeling pain throughout his body, he refused to relent, continuing to practice relentlessly. Surrounded by an abundance of power, Zheng felt a wave of relief.
Don't forget to like and comment for the next part. Join our Discord for the name of the book and subscribe for more videos from us.